Dogs are known to be loving and faithful animals that form strong bonds with their owners. But one dog who was missing his owners took his faithfulness to the next level, never leaving the spot where he last saw his owners. But what happened next will break your heart and leave you with tears in your eyes. Rex was a loving and loyal dog. He had always been a friendly and excitable pup, and that's what drew his owners to him. They loved his looks, they loved his personality, and he fit into their life perfectly. As soon as they got Rex home, it was like he had always been there, and as if it were meant to be. Over the years, the owners would bond with their dog and become super attached to him, seeing him as their very own child. Rex filled their life up, and in return, he filled theirs up. It was exactly as owning a dog should be. They used to go on long and meandering walks, sometimes through the town, sometimes out in the countryside. They would always let Rex off of his lead and let him run free, knowing that he would cause no issues and always return when called. That, or he would be sat patiently waiting for them to catch up. If there was one thing that Rex loved more than walks, it was car rides. He loved how the car smelled, and he loved the feel of it moving, especially when they were going fast on the open roads. He would look intently out of the window and watch the world go by as his tail wagged. It was Rex's 8th birthday, so his owners decided they were going to treat him to a surprise. They woke up and fed him his favorite meal before taking him out on a long walk in the fields where he could run free and stretch his legs properly. They would then drive to the local dog spa where he would be treated to having his fur cleaned, his nails groomed, and generally made to feel special. After all, it was his big day. Everything was going according to plan, and Rex wolfed down his breakfast before happily zooming around a huge expansive field, feeling the wind in his hair as he ran and played with his owners. It was the best day ever, but things were soon going to take a dramatic and heartbreaking turn, one that will leave you feeling extremely sorry for the poor dog. Rex jumped into the rear of the car and sat down and watched as his owners climbed into the front. They set off driving to the dog spa, and Rex happily watched the world go by as they listened to music from the radio and his two owners chatting. He didn't know where they were going, but he was happy to be with his owners and just going somewhere. But then, all of a sudden, the female owner screamed, and before Rex even had a chance to turn his head, the car crashed into a vehicle in front at very high speed. Glass shattered, the car flipped and rolled multiple times, and poor Rex was catapulted from the car and launched into a bush in the town square. He fell unconscious when he hit the ground, concealed by the leaves. Sadly though, things ended much more tragically for Rex's owners. They were killed instantly. The crowds of people that gathered didn't notice the unconscious dog in the bushes, nor did the emergency services when they came and respectfully took away the bodies and cleared the wreckage. It was several long hours later that Rex started to stir, waking up and softly sitting up. He was a very lucky dog indeed. He suffered only a few minor cuts and some bruising. It was a miracle that he had not been hurt more. But what the poor dog didn't know was that his owners had been tragically killed, and so he sat there and waited for them. Rex hoped they would come back soon and take him home. He looked around, checking every single face in hopes that it was one of his owners, but none of them ever were. His tail would wag and he would stand in anticipation, but his hopes would be quickly dashed when he didn't recognize the face. But Lex had lived such a happy life that was full of love, and he couldn't imagine that his owners would have abandoned him or left him alone. So he waited and waited and waited. But after several days, it became obvious that the owners were never returning. Any other dog would have given up and wandered off, but not Rex. Rex was loyal and faithful to his owners. He would be there if they ever returned. After many hours had passed, Rex grew hungry and went to scrounge food from a nearby trash can. But after snatching a few tasty morsels, he quickly returned to his place, hoping he had not missed his owners looking for him. Eventually, the people of the town started to notice the dog that was always in the same place every single day. Rex was a friendly and temperamental dog, so he was happy to let people who were passing by stroke his head or even give him a few morsels of food. No one understood what he was doing there though. They were just extremely curious why it looked like he was always expecting someone. The people couldn't comprehend the reason he was waiting though. But no one knew Rex's name. They just referred to him as the dog. And that's how he was known around town. The friendly dog that just sits and waits for owners that will never come. Authorities made several attempts to capture him and take him to the dog pound, but despite being a friendly and sociable animal, the dog would not let them near. He understood that they wanted to take him away from that place, and he would not let that happen. After a couple of years though, they eventually gave up trying to impound the dog, recognizing him to not be a threat, and so the dog just carried on sitting there, waiting, hoping, but feeling increasingly alone and abandoned. In a way, the dog knew that his owners were never coming back, yet there was still a part of him that couldn't let go of that hope. The dog became a staple of the town, with everyone recognizing him and stroking his head as they went about their daily business. Through winter and summer, the dog was always there, always looking, and always patiently waiting. In fact, the dog became so much part of the town square that people just took him for granted and assumed he would always be there. Like a statue or an old tree, he was just part of the scenery. He grew to recognize the people of the town and would often wag his tail in excitement when he saw them coming. Not only that, but he knew who brought food and who didn't. Yet, despite forming attachments with a handful of the town's residents, the dog never even considered going with one of them to become their pet. Sadly though, the dog was reaching a very old age. His fur started to become grey in patches, and his health deteriorated. And still, he remained in his place, just waiting and hoping his owners would finally return. But after 7 years of being a constant presence in the town square, the poor people awoke to find the poor dog had died in his sleep in the very place he had spent all those years waiting. The town was, of course, devastated and decided to give him a proper funeral. The people pooled their money and not only gave the loyal and lonely dog the send-off he deserves, but they also had a statue commissioned. This bronze effigy looked exactly like the poor dog and pictured him sitting and waiting, as many people had seen him doing day after day after day. The bronze statue was put in the exact place that the dog spent all of his time, as a constant reminder to people of how brave, loyal, and friendly he was. And for those that were feeling down and out, they could go and sit with the statue and feel like they had some company and feel like they belonged, because no matter who they were or what their situation was, the dog had always been an unjudging and friendly presence. And even though he might have passed away feeling alone and abandoned, the dog would forever be in the hearts of the people that lived in the town. So now it's over to you. What do you think of this heartbreaking story? How would you have reacted if you'd have encountered such a lonely yet loyal dog? Would you, like so many other people, have mourned its passing? As always, we'd love to hear from you, so be sure to leave your thoughts and opinions in the comment section down below.